Guys, I have a lot of new subscribers, so I'm going to go over this again because there's many people that haven't heard this. This dream I had a few years ago that turned out to be very prophetic, and it's very comforting to us as well. So it will be when you hear all of it, but it's an exhortation and it's a comfort. So the dream that I had was that I was in a church building, and there was a big bag of Skittles on a table, like a coffee table, and there was a magician performing. And I remember thinking that why is the church watching a magician perform? And I didn't want to eat. I remember I didn't want to eat the Skittles. And there was a young man that sat down next to me, and he was all into what was going on, the eating the candy, watching the magician. And I noticed he was looking at my legs. And I noticed when I sat down, my skirt had come up a little and showed some of my legs. So I pulled it down to cover my legs. And I said, "I'm married." And he said, "What? I'm a Christian." But that represented idolatry, being drawn away from things other than Christ in the church, things that tickle your ears, supernatural experiences, so-called, anything to distract you from Christ himself and just get caught up in junk and sensationalism, And there are people, like a magician, like just putting on a show. But it's like witchcraft, because it's not the pure word of God. It's not a real ministry. Well, anyway, people were standing around just talking, like, socializing in the church. And I was able to see, it's like I saw a vision within the dream outside of the church building. And there were these tornadoes that were like filthy, that had formed, and they had dirt and hair in them, I noticed. And all of a sudden they started coming together and forming these rhinoceroses. And there was rhinoceroses like shoulder to shoulder formed from these tornadoes, and that represents winds of bad doctrine, winds of doctrine. And they were shoulder to shoulder facing the church and snorting and getting ready to charge. And I said to the people in the church loudly, I warned them, and I said, "Hey, there's rhinos about to charge through. If you don't want to get hurt or killed, get up on higher ground." And I stood up on a ledge, and I looked around, and some people got up on higher ground and other people just weren't listening to me. They just kept socializing and stayed down. And then the rhinos began to charge. And at that point, in the next scene, I was in a safe room. It was a white room, and my family was in there, and they were taking, like when you're in school and you take position up against the wall, like in a tornado drill. They were in that position, and I knew I was safe. I felt comfort and safety. And so what's happening in the church now is that a lot of the people are drunk. They're drunk on idolatry, anything but Christ. They're caught up in false doctrine. They're rejecting the true word of God. They're rejecting Christ himself. They've got every kind of substitute. And the people that are speaking truth, they're like, Lord, show me the rhinos are brute beast, which are talked about in the Bible, which really just means he talks about people acting like brute beast, basically, and someone who is sensual, acting by their feelings and their emotions and their senses rather than by God's reasoning and the Spirit of the Lord. And they're bringing charge and accusation against the children of God. And it's kind of like a judgment that begins in the house of God. And if you don't get up on higher ground, which is Jesus Christ, you can be harmed by that. You can get caught up in that filthy doctrine or be discouraged and knocked down by those charging through the church. But I was reading my Bible this morning, and this is actually what brought this dream back to mind. And it was, sorry, I have to find it really quickly because I didn't think about reading this to you guys until just a minute ago. But I was reading in Psalms 31 says, "Let the lying lips be put to silence, which speak grievous things proudly and contemptuously against the righteous. O how great is thy goodness, which thou hast laid up for them that fear thee, which thou hast wrought for them that trust in thee before the sons of men. Thou shalt hide them in the secret of thy presence from the pride of man. Thou shalt keep them secretly in a pavilion from the strife of tongues." And we can count it all joy when we're standing on the truth of the Word of God. I don't know if you can hear my dog snoring over there. He just snored really loudly. But when people bring accusation or rail against it, because Jesus told us that would happen, he said there'd be days like these, but we're safe. We're hidden in his secret place, in a pavilion of his safety, and untouched by lying lips and accusations. That God knows the truth. He sees all, and he knows the truth. So just remain in him and be strong. Just, trust him. He's got everything under control, and we're going home soon, guys. I really believe we are. All right, I love y'all.